Hi, good afternoon students as well as viewers to my channel. Today the topic that I am going to discuss is going to be very much crucial as well as interesting for the students of standard 10. Actually the topic that I am going to discuss today is related with the subject of polity, and our today's topic of discussion is power sharing. So power sharing. Under this topic, we are going to discuss a lot of things. So first of all, we will discuss about what is power sharing. Okay. So see, number first one that we are going to discuss is what is power sharing. What is power sharing? Number second, how we can share power who among we can share power why power sharing is important merits and demerits of power sharing. Two examples. We will also discuss two examples. That is one of Belgium, and another is from Sri Lanka. Apart from this, we will also discuss about one story. Name of that story is Khalil's dilemma. So these are the topic that we are going to discuss today. So first of all, let us start with what is power sharing. See, students, power sharing is basically the division of power among different organs of a government. So let us see what are different organs of the government. Organs of government. It is executive, legislative, and last but not the least is judicial. So see, power sharing is just the division of power among different organs of the government. So number one is executive, and as we all know that the work and the role of the executive is to implement the policies that has been formulated by the legislative. The role of the legislative is to formulate the policies for the welfare of the people, and the role of judiciary is to settle the disputes that has arisen among the different organs of the government, as well as the conflicts relating to the interpretation of the law, as well as the conflicts that may arise among different states of the nation. Apart from this, the role of the judiciary is also to settle the disputes among different sections of the society as well as between different people. So, we have understood what is power sharing. It is the division or the distribution of the power It is against the concentration of authority and the power into a single hand. It supports the concept of distribution of power, or we can say that disbursement of power among various social groups, so that a confidence can be built among different organs as well as among the different citizens of the society. Confidence building is necessary part of a democratic country. Unless and until the citizens of a nation will have faith in the functioning of the government, there cannot be any kind of disintegration or disunity. So, for a better functioning of the government, it is necessary that power sharing is there among different social groups. For the peace and integration of the nation, it is necessary that power is dispersed among different constituents of not only government but also among the different constituents of the population or the citizens. So, first question is, how can we share power? Power can be shared horizontally, vertically, community government, and last but not the least, among various political parties, pressure groups, NGOs, non-governmental organizations, movements, it is. See, horizontally the power is distributed at the center. We can see different organs of the government working at center, that is executive, legislative and judiciary. At the apex of executive we see president, and legislative we see Lok Sabha and Raj Sabha, and for judiciary we see at the center Supreme Court. Similarly, vertically the distribution of power takes place from center to a state, and from a state to local governments like municipalities and panchayats. Community government. The excellent example of community government is Belgium, and apart from that we see different kinds of reservation in our country also, not only in executive but also in legislative as well as in judiciary. And different various political parties and pressure groups, NGOs and movements also put pressure on the government to formulate the policies in their terms and conditions. So there are various pressure groups, movements also, people carry out movements also. Okay, we will discuss these things one by one. Next, whom among we can share power? We can share power among different sections of the society that has been deprived as well as deprived of any social, educational as well as political rights. We can give them preferential treatment so that they can also join the mainstream of the society, like scheduled caste, scheduled tribes. And apart from that, we can also share power with the minorities, like religious minorities as well as linguistic minorities to carry out welfare programs for the welfare of them. These kinds of steps builds up confidence in the government and the constitution. If they are being given power, then a confidence develops into their mind and they feel more attached and nearness to the government and government machineries. As a result, unity and integrity of a nation remains protected. They don't feel alienated from the society. Okay? So see, why power sharing is important. This thing also I have discussed. That power sharing builds confidence among different sections of the society. If they form the part of the government, then what will happen? They will be in a position to convey their problems to the government and government can resolve their problems peacefully. Power sharing forms the grievance redressal mechanism. Grievance redressal mechanism. If people are being inducted into the government or they are being transferred some kind of power, then what will happen? They can easily convey the problems related to their society or community easily to the government, and as a result there will be better grievance redressal mechanism. As a result, each one in the society will be satisfied the way the government is functioning. And this is important for a democratic country like India, because here we will discuss the two examples. One is from Belgium. How Belgium was able to peacefully divide the power among the majority as well as in the minority. How a confidence was built up and the people of the Belgium who were from different ethnic groups were peacefully able to come to an agreement for the betterment of the nation and the people. And we will also see the example of Sri Lanka. Here power was not shared with the minority sections, especially with the Tamils. As a result, the Tamil people who were forming the minorities were forced to carry out an armed rebellion in the country. As a result, the development of the country was obstructed for a long time. So we will see one by one. We will also discuss the story of Khalid's dilemma and merits and demerits of the power sharing later. So first of all, let us start our discussion with the Sri Lanka. So let me rub this first of all. Now let us start with the example of Sri Lanka. That what was the impact when the majoritarian government in Sri Lanka denied to transfer power or denied to share power among its minorities. So see, Sri Lanka. Let us first of all discuss its geography. Say Sri Lanka, as we all know that, is an island nation. It has a population of nearly 2 crore. That is same as in our country, the Haryana state has. Sri Lanka is located just few kilometers off the southern coast of Tamil Nadu. Means it is just few kilometers away from the Tamil Nadu. And when we talk about the population composition of the Sri Lanka, we can see that the population composition of Sri Lanka is more or less same as the population composition of the South Asian countries. So let us see the population composition of the Sri Lanka. See, major group see the major population in Sri Lanka is of Sinhalese people. Sinhalese, about 74%. %, people are Tamils. %, Tamils, are Christians. Say, out of 74% Sinhalese groups, majority of them are Buddhist. And here, out of total 18% Tamils. %5 are Indian Tamils. So this becomes 5% are Indian Tamils. So rest 13% are Sri Lankan Tamils, and combined they constitute 18%. 30% are Sri Lankan Tamils, means they are native of Sri Lanka or they have origin in Sri Lanka itself. But 5% out of 18, that is 5% are Indian Tamils, means during colonial period or during British period, their forefathers migrated to Sri Lanka as an agricultural labor and they settled in Sri Lanka. So see, this is the population composition of Sri Lanka. 74% of the people are Sinhalese and they practice Buddhism as their religion. And 18% of the people are Tamils. And out of this 18%, 13% are Sri Lankan Tamils and 5% are Indian Tamils, and 7% people are of Christianity religion, and 1% we can say miscellaneous, means people from different nations who came and settled here. So this is the population composition of Sri Lanka, and the population of the Tamils are concentrated in the north and east. Tamils are concentrated in the north and eastern Sri Lanka. So rest of the country, or we can say major portion of the country, are inhabited by the Sinhalese. In Sri Lanka, there are two ethnic groups. One ethnic group constitute Sinhalese people, and other ethnic groups constitute Tamils. And apart from Sri Lankan Tamils, 5% are Indian Tamils. So 13 and 5 makes their population 18%. So 18% are Tamils and 7% are Christians. And Indian Tamils are Muslims as well as Hindus. So this is their religion. Indian Tamils are what? Basically they are Muslims as well as Hindus. So see, now moving towards the political situation of Sri Lanka that has erupted there just after their independence. Sri Lanka got its independence in 1948. Means 1 year after the independence of India. In the year 1948, Sri Lanka has won its independence, and just after its independence, the challenge in front of the Sri Lankan nation was to form a government. So they adopted democratic type of constitution. So although the government of Sri Lanka was democratically chosen, but Sinhalese leaders were forming dominant groups as they were in majority. And as soon as Sri Lankan government was formed, the Sinhalese leaders enacted a constitution or enacted a law in the year 1956. And according to this law, a new law was formulated in the year 1956. And according to this law, the Sinhalese language was to be declared an official language. Means other languages like Tamils were to be derived from government offices and education. Only the recognition to the Sinhalese language was given as the official language of the Sri Lanka. And this was the error that was committed by the Sri Lankan government, as the minority sections began to feel themselves alienated from the government, and they were kept away from the fruits of the independence And as soon as the Sinhalese language was declared the official language of the Sri Lanka, the Sri Lankan government started formulating more and more policies that were in favor of the Sinhalese group. They started luring the Sinhalese government started luring and appetizing only the majority section of the society, that was Sinhalese. As a result, it was the Sinhalese people who could easily make access into the educational institutes as well as in government services. And the Tamil speaking people now find it difficult to be a part of the government offices. In getting an entry into the educational institutes was also made tougher for them. They felt it more tough to get an entry to any educational institute also, because they are the only language that was to be followed and in which the education was to be imparted was made Sinhalese language. And these people felt themselves out of the race or out of the competitive environment. As a result, Tamils in the Sri Lanka started forming political parties so that they could put forth their demand in front of the government. Protests started, but the government paid no heed to their demands. All their attempts went in vain. As a result, in the year 1983, they started mass agitation, as well as they started demanding separate state or Elam. They started demanding separate Tamil Elam. Elam means state. The Tamil people who were concentrated mostly in the northern and the eastern part of the country started demanding for a separate state and a better government, separate state, so that a responsible government could be formed by them in the form of state government. They started demanding separate Tamil Elam or separate Tamil state, so that more and more autonomy and power in the form of polity, in the form of political, social and economic sphere could be given to them, and they could not feel alienated from the Sri Lanka. They also wanted to be part of the government and the part of the nation. But when the majority group led by Sinhalese started underestimating their requirements and needs, they were forced to form a armed revolutionary group that is known as LTT. This was an organization that was established in the year 1983. LTT. This was an armed rebellious group, and its work was to obstruct the work of the government and to boycott the government through violence. As a result, millions of the people from both the sides were killed. And it was in the year 1983 that LTT full form Liberation Tigers of Tamil Eelam. The full form of LTT is Liberation Tigers of Tamil Eelam. Eelam means state. This was formed by Velu Pillai Prabhakar. This revolutionary society, in the name of Tamil Tigers or LTT, was established by Velu Pillai Prabhakar in the year 1983, so that a separate Tamil Eelam or separate Tamil state could be formed. As a result of this, Sri Lanka was in a state of instability, political, social as well as economic instability for a long time, means until the year 2009. The situation of chaos and confusion prevailed in Sri Lanka from the year 1983 to the year 2009. Small children that were below the age of 14 years were inducted into the army of the Prabhakar to fight against the Sri Lankan government. And Sri Lankan government used their army against these children also. They were brutally killed. Innocent people, including children and women, were brutally massacred in Sri Lanka. And these things, and this Sri Lanka presents an example of democracy that cannot be called a democracy from any point of view, because it used weapons against its own citizens. By providing them equal political, social and economic rights, this incident could have been resolved peacefully, as in the case of the Belgium. When United Nations tried to constitute an independent committee to look after the matters and the incidents that took place in the Sri Lanka, then Sri Lankan government completely denied the access of the Committee of the United Nations, because very unfortunate things had happened there. Sri Lankan government used force to subdue the demands of its own citizens. So, the example of Sri Lanka as a democratic country presents an example of exception, very peculiar exception. So after the suppression of the rebellious group in the form of LTT, peace could be established in Sri Lanka after the year 2009. Their only demand was to constitute a separate island where the people will be governed by their own representatives. Means just like we have states in India. Similarly, they wanted large autonomy in terms of social, polity and economic sphere for themselves. So this example of Sri Lanka presents a very unfortunate kind of democracy. Now we will move forward and continue with the Belgium. The example of Belgium. So let me rub this. So now let us discuss the second example, that is of Belgium. Belgium. Its capital is Brussels. Brussels. Earlier Belgium was part of the Netherlands. Earlier Belgium was part of the United Kingdom of Netherlands. But it got separated from Netherlands. We have studied in under the chapter French Revolution. That revolutionary phase between 1830 to 1848, and during the revolutions of this phase only that Belgium got separated from Netherlands. Earlier it was part of the Netherlands. So Belgium is an European country, and in size it is smaller than Haryana. So in population it is half the size of Haryana. But when we see the ethnic composition of the Belgium, then it is very much complex, as %59 of the people speak Dutch language. 59% of the people are of Dutch origin. Forty percent are French. And 1%, only 1% are German speaking. Dutch speaking are concentrated in Flemish region. Flemish region of Belgium. French speaking in Wallonia. Wallonia region of Belgium. And 1% are and 1% are German speaking. So see, 59% of the people constitute Dutch speaking people, who are mostly concentrated in Flemish region of the Belgium, and 40% of the people constitute French speaking people, and that are concentrated in Wallonia region, and 1% are German speaking people. And this is the population composition for whole of the Belgium. But the capital city of Belgium, that is Brussels, presents a different example. See, in Belgium, in Brussels, 80% are French speaking, and 20% are Dutch. See, in Belgium, though French speaking people are in minority, but they occupy much of the wealth of the Belgium. They are rich and prosperous. They occupy most of the wealth or the resources of the Belgium. Whereas Dutch speaking people, though they are in majority, they are deprived of the resources that are meant for their development. So dissatisfaction between the two groups started in the Belgium, and there were conflicts between the two groups, and that can be seen more clearly around the year 1950s and 60s. So in order to resolve the conflicts peacefully, the Belgium government amended the constitution of the Belgium four times. Amendment in constitution between 1970 to 1993. So in order to come to a peaceful arrangement between these two ethnic communities, the government of Belgium amended the constitution of Belgium four times between 1970 to the year 1993. And as a part of the agreement and the new constitution that was prepared in the year 1993, the government in Belgium should form in such a manner that no community felt dissatisfaction. So the constitution was drawn accordingly. Let us see. First of all, let me learn this. See, the Belgian government was to be formed at central level, at state level, and number third was community government. So let us see. At center, the number of representatives from the French society as well as number of representatives from the Dutch society was to be equal in number. equal number of representatives of each French speaking as well as Dutch speaking. So Dutch people agreed equal representation of French speaking people at the central government or in the central government, at the center or in the central government. Although we have seen that Dutch people were in majority, they were 59% of the total population, though they agreed to provide equal number of representatives of the French representatives, and in turn French people also agreed equal number of representation of people from the Dutch speaking people and equal number of representative of the French speaking people in Brussels. At the state level also, French people agreed equal representation of Dutch people numerically to those of So see, in Brussels, that was to form just like a state government also, and where in Brussels we have seen that French speaking people were in majority. French speaking people were in majority in Brussels, and in the whole country Dutch speaking people were in majority. So Dutch speaking people agreed equal representation of the French speaking people in the central government, and so French people also agreed to give equal representation to the Dutch people in state government, and then conflict was resolved by establishing community government. Representatives from each German, French and Dutch speaking, and these community governments were entrusted with the task to legislate for their own language, culture and education. Means the community government of the German people were to legislate for the German people only in terms of their education, language and culture. And similarly, the community government of the French were to legislate in terms of education, culture and language, or we can say the linguistic, for the French speaking people only, and Dutch community government was to legislate for their own community, no matter where the people live. Community government was only one for each of the community. Okay, so this community government also formed the central government, and its work was to legislate in terms of education, culture, and language. A state government was also given the same power. Just as the central government. A state government was in no way subordinate to the central government. Subordinate means below rank or lesser rank. A state government was also made as much powerful as was the central government. Means a state government was in no way subordinate to the central government. As we see in case of India, a state government is subordinate to the central government. But in the case of Belgium, a state government was at par with the central government. Both state government as well as the central government have equal power in Belgium. That is why an agreement could be established. Peaceful agreement could be established in Belgium, and Belgium represents a unique example of peaceful resolving of disputes and conflicts in a democracy. And the example suggested by the Sri Lanka was just against the example suggested by the Belgium. So we have also discussed the examples of conflict redressal in these two countries also, although both of these countries were democratic, but the settlement of peace that took place was different, and Belgium presented a very good example, a unique example of peaceful resolution of the disputes and the conflicts. So let me wrap this and we will continue further. Now our next topic of discussion is why power sharing is desirable. Why power sharing is desirable. See, this topic can be studied under two subheadings, that is prudential and other is moral. See, prudential means arriving at a decision must think after calculating risk. See, prudential means arriving at a decision through much thinking after calculating the risk. Thinking positively more about its positive outcome. Thinking much about its positive outcome is what prudential is. And moral We all know that thinking with our conscience. Conscience means inner sense. Inner sense of making a distinction between what is good and what is bad. So moral will be more valuable. So prudential approach in favor of power sharing emphasizes more towards the outcome of power sharing. Whereas moral approach are more towards the favor of power sharing as valuable. See, it is based on outcome approach. It led, see, prudential approach laid more emphasis on the outcomes of the systems of power sharing, and moral approach laid more emphasis towards the value of the power sharing. See, power sharing helps to reduce the conflicts peacefully. If conflicts are not resolved peacefully, then it will undermine the unity and the integrity of the nation. If power is not shared among the minority sections of the society, then naturally it will put the nation at the risk and in danger. There will be danger of peace as well as integrity of the nation. Unity of the nation will be in danger. So, in order to resolve the disputes peacefully among different sections of the society, to avoid the danger of political instability, unity and integrity of the nation. Moral approach laid emphasis on the values and on the moral grounds that power must be shared among those who are to be affected by the exercise of the power or the exercise of the policies, and those who are to live with the effects of the democracy. So, power sharing is the very spirit of the democracy. It lays emphasis to power sharing among those who are to be affected, and who are to live with its effects. See, power sharing is the very spirit of the democracy, and it lays emphasis on the power sharing in a democratic country, because it is said that with the exercise of the power or the people who are going to be affected by the exercise of the policies, and those who are to live with its effect are to be consulted. They must participate in the policy forming process. People have the right to be consulted how they are going to be ruled. This is the very core of the democracy, that how people are going to be ruled. They have the right to participate in the political processes. And in the definition of the democracy also, it is said that government that a democratic government runs according to the wishes of the people. So that is why here on the moral grounds also power should be shared with those who are to be affected and those who are to live with the effects of the exercise of the power or exercise of the policies. So now continuing our discussion further, but I will have to rub this. Now come to our next topic, that is one story, and this story is presented in the name of Khalil's dilemma. Khalil's dilemma. See, dilemma means what? Confusion. Means mental confusion or state of what to do and what not to do. See, dilemma means mental confusion. A state where you are not being able to take appropriate decision, or a state where you are not being able to choose from what to do and what not to do. So here is a story, and this story is related with the Lebanon, and its capital Beirut. Here a person named Khalil is in dilemma. He is a popular person in the city of Beirut, and he has many political ambitions, but he felt setback whenever he thinks about the political system that has been running in Beirut, and the political system that is being run in the Lebanon is different from the democracies that has been run anywhere in the world. Now let us see how the story of Lebanon is different from the democracies that are being practiced elsewhere in the world. See, Lebanon is a country which is a neighbor of Syria and France also. So it has a population that is constituted of both Muslim as well as the Christians, and the people here are intermingled, means they are intermingled through matrimonial ties, means person from one community can marry the women from another community. And although the people here are intermingled through culture as well as through matrimonial ties, the situation here becomes bitter and takes the shape of civil war when it comes to the question of political rights. See, the stories goes here like this, that when the constitution of the Lebanon was being framed, then the population of Muslims as well as Christians were equal, and an agreement was prepared. The constitution came into existence by an agreement, and through this agreement the president of the country was to be from Maronite sect of Catholic Christians. Prime Minister was to be from Sunni sect of Muslim. Deputy Prime Minister was from Orthodox Christianity. The speaker was to be from Shia community. See, this was the political arrangement that was established in Lebanon, and through this agreement the Christian people agreed that they will not seek the help from the France in case of any political instability, and Muslims also agreed that they will not seek to unify the territory of Lebanon with Syria. So under these agreements, it was agreed that president of the Lebanon will be from the Maronite sect of Catholic Christians, and prime minister will be from Sunni sect of Muslim. Deputy prime minister will be from Orthodox Christianity, and a speaker was to be from Shia community. This was the political situation of the Lebanon. And when we talk about the individual life of the Khalil, then Khalil was born to an Orthodox Christian father, and his mother was belonging to a Sunni sect of the Muslim. Khalil, father, mother. Mother was belonging from Sunni sect of Muslim. Father, Orthodox Christian. Khalil. So Khalil was a son of Orthodox Christian father and Sunni sect of Muslim mother, and he was giving priority to none of the religion. He was a neutral kind of man. He was neither in favor of Christian nor in favor of the Muslim. He was a neutral and independent thinking kind of man. And as we have talked that he was a man who was having political ambitions. He wanted to become president of the Lebanon, but he could not become the president of the Lebanon because the seat of the president of the Lebanon was fixed for Maronite sect of the Catholic Christian. So he was just thinking that why not something can be done to rewrite the constitution of the Lebanon so that the top level of the political system could be filled by those persons who have got maximum votes. Means top position of the political system of Lebanon should be filled with those who have maximum votes. So students, you have to think, can it be done? Because till now what is happening? At the time of framing of the constitution, the population of Christian and Muslims were equal. But now when Khalil is thinking, because Khalil is living in the next generation, his uncle has died in the conflict that has erupted in the Lebanon, and as a result, to resolve the conflict, a new constitution was prepared like this. And Khalil is now living in the next generation, where he is thinking that constitution should be changed. and it should be based on the number of votes. Those who are securing the maximum number of votes should sit at the president, and likewise. So think about this. See, Khalil is thinking in the right direction. Instead of reservation, there should be the choice of the people. Because in any democratic country, will of the people is given priority. In any democratic country, will of the people is given the topmost priority. So if people are voting for a specific person, then he must only elected as the president or the prime minister. There shall not be any place for any kind of reservation. Government must be formed according to the wish of the general people. So here the situation is different. Here Muslim population has increased tremendously, and now at this moment of time Khalil is thinking to change the constitution of the country. So is it possible? Yes, it is possible. If the citizens of that nation is being taught, if the citizens of that country is taught well about their rights and the duties, they will be made aware about the responsibility of their citizenness. If they are going to form the responsible citizen, then they should cast their vote in favor of their community, but as a responsible citizen of the nation. Because the unity and the integrity of the nation takes the first priority. The interest of the nation should be given high priority or the top priority, and the development of the individual community or the interest, not development, interest of the individual community shall be given less priority. Nation first shall be given priority, so that unity and stability in the nation shall come or shall exist. People should love their country and not their own community first. And as a responsible citizen, they should vote by relinquishing the interest of their own community, but for the interest of the nation. Okay, let me rub this and then we will discuss the last topic. So our next topic is power sharing. So our next topic is forms of power sharing. Forms of power sharing. See, earlier it was thought that there should be concentration of power into one single hand. There should not be distribution of power into different peoples, as it would take maximum time in decision making processes. So power was concentrated into single hand earlier, but now with the emergence of the concept of the democracy, now focus is given more and more towards distribution of power, and this distribution of power should take place not only horizontally, vertically, among different sections of society, but also among different political parties, NGOs, pressure groups, and movements. First, second, third, and fourth. We are going to discuss forms of power sharing section under these four headings. In a democratic world, now it is felt that people should have maximum participation in the government as well as in policy formulating, as well as in policy formulation processes. Not only in government but in policy formulating processes also people should have maximum participation, because it is this policy that are going to govern the people, and the government should govern the people according to the wishes of the people. So it is better that the policies should be in favor of the people, and if policies are in favor of the people, then why not? People are to be consulted first relating to or pertaining to the policies. So a modern democratic society emphasizes more and more on the disbursement of power. Okay, so see, we have discussed also horizontal distribution of power. Under this, power is distributed among organs of the government. That is executive, legislative, and judiciary at the apex level. See, work of executive is to implement the policies formulated by legislative, and the work of the legislation is to formulate the policies for the welfare of the people, and the work of judiciary is to settle the disputes erupting in the way of functioning or the running of the policies. So this system, this horizontal distribution of power acts as the checks and balances, means it often checks the powers of each other, and thus keeps a balance in the government or the working of the government. See, here judges are often appointed by the executive or on the advices of the legislative. So by this way, this system often puts a checks and balances on the power of the one organ of the government, or the excessism of one organ of the government towards other organ of the government. And other is vertical distribution of power, means from center towards state and from state towards local government. This is what vertical distribution of power. In our country we see both kinds of system. Means in our country power is distributed or divided horizontally also and vertically also, and among different sections of the society. The best example of this is community government. Community government of Belgium. We have just studied about the Belgium. So among different sections of the society, that a power is distributed among the different sections of the society, and Belgium represents a unique example of these kinds of democracy and power distribution. In our country also this system is practiced, but not in the name of the community government, but in the name of ministry for the welfare of scheduled caste, scheduled tribes and minorities. In our country also the system is practiced by the name of Ministry for the Welfare of Scheduled Caste, Scheduled Tribes and Minorities. SC, ST and minorities. In our constitution too, there is provision for the safeguard of the interests of the minorities, whether it be linguistic minority or religious minority. There is protection as well as safeguard of the interests of the minority in the form of educational institution, safeguard and protection of their monuments, etc. And there is provision in the constitution for reserved constituencies for the scheduled caste and scheduled tribes. So in our country, first, second and third, these all exist, and fourth, that is among different political parties, NGOs and pressure groups. Also, in our country, all the four forms of power sharing exist. See, now we will talk about the fourth, about power sharing among different political parties. See, power is shared among different political parties as opposition party can criticize. In our country too, opposition parties can criticize the policies and the way of the running of the government. They can criticize it publicly, and with the long running of the democracy, they also can get the chance to form the government. So, political parties can also attain the majority one day or the other day. and form the government. NGOs, pressure groups and movements. See, pressure groups are different kinds of unions, committees, committees, chamber of commerce, etc. And these are present in our countries also. So what happens, these committees and unions often influences the policies of the government by putting the government in a pressure or by pressurizing the government. So different chamber of groups can be seen, and unions and committees like unions of the auto rickshaws, unions of the drivers, we can see, and they influence the policies of the government by striking and protesting if the policies are not in favor of them, or the policies of the government are going to hurt them economically, socially, then they put the pressure on the government. See, movement of the people, as we have seen in our pre-independence struggles, or the war of, or a period before the independence, that colonial governments were often pressurized by these kinds of movements like non-cooperation movement, civil disobedience movement, and there were so many movements that were launched against the British government, so that they can pressurize the government to formulate the policies that are going to benefit their health, or the originals or the origins of the nation. So these different forms of the power sharing are existing in our country also. So we often see that 2 and 3 parties gets merged together to form a coalition government. Two or more parties often gets merged to form a coalition government. When they are not, when there is no single party getting a majority, then they often merge with other parties to form a coalition government. So by this way also power is shared, okay, among different sections or political parties. So students, this was our topic, and we will discuss the question answer of this topic in our next video. Okay, so thank you for